Okay. Well, you're gonna have to do all the channeling, Susan. It's up to you. It's up to Barbara. It's up to Dawn. It's up to Angie. Up to Michael. Because I'm not doing it. Oh, there she
We're
is.
live.
Look, I summoned her. I summoned her. I'm powerful. Did you see that? If
We're
I
live.
No, we're not live.
Our meeting is streaming live on YouTube.
Is that what it's saying? Because I
We're
did.
live.
My gosh. Hi, everybody. We're live. And you know, the reason I don't know that we're live is because they have changed Zoom. For anybody who hasn't been on Zoom lately as a host, they used to have the your live thing on this side of the screen. Now it's in this side of the screen at the top, at the very top where it used to run across the bottom, and it would say you are live. Now it's just says YouTube with a green check mark. I guess that means we're live. In any case, welcome. Hi. Who am I? Okay, my name is Krishna Priya, and this is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It's Saturday, the 31st of August, 2000. I was going to say 31. Oh, it may be. We might be jumping timelines here. I can't guarantee we're not. 2024. Last I checked, you might want to confirm that for yourself. This is going downhill fast. Anyway, welcome. Angie, why don't you start with some announcements so I can sit here and compose myself?
Greetings, everyone. I have received quite a few responses for one of the classes that we are anticipating scheduling. There has been the greatest response for white magic.
Great.
And so Jim and I are looking at that. We've also received quite a bit response also for the consciousness class. So once Jim and I get together and schedule that date, looks like white magic first, and then it will be the consciousness class second. A little bit about white magic. We are thinking about it's going to be level 4. In order for you to participate in level 4, we have several classes that have been recorded. So if you're interested, the prerequisite for that is 1, 2, and 3. So you can reach out to me, classes@hucolo.org. I will get you information on how you can purchase that recording. It's the same thing with
watch these recordings first.
Say that again, please.
They have to watch the recordings first.
That is correct. In order to do level 4, if you want to participate in that next one, you have to have completed 1, 2, and 3.
Gotcha.
It's the same thing with the consciousness class. Our other exciting news is that we are scheduling a weekend workshop weekend. So it'll be 2 days, definitely 2 days. I'm already in touch with Rob Gothier. If Krishna Priya is around in April up in New York. Okay, we're having the event. It's called an event. We're having the event in Canada, on the east side of Canada. I've already talked with Rob Gothier, and he is very interested in doing this with us. And so, Krishna Priya, if you're in United States, I'd love to have you there too.
Why April? And I won't be here.
Oh, why April? Because the January, Jim's got an event in January already booked. February, our winter
You have to go through every month, but it's just
no, I'm just saying it's the winter. The winter, they're more, if we were to plan something this far out and it's a blizzard, we don't want to. So we want to go.
No, I meant why not like more towards the summer? That's my question.
Well, we're going to do April because people work.
Okay.
Some people have time off in April.
I see.
So that's like the reason, that's the real reason for spring break.
Oh, spring break. Got it.
It's spring break.
Got it.
So we're planning it during that. It's a 2-day Saturday and Sunday event. We're looking at, I believe, I'm going off my memory, it's the 12th and 13th of April. We're securing the venue now, and we're going to be, the best part about this one is that one of the classes that's going to be taught is going to be a class that has never been taught before. So we're very excited about that. What is it? It's a mystery at the moment.
Okay, great. All right, perfect. So people can write in
Yes,
with,
classes at hucolo.org for any information about recordings, classes, and events.
okay, perfect. All right, so what I said that we're going to do today, so everyone that's here is basically on deck. We're going to do group channeling, and any questions from YouTube and also from our own room, anyone that has a question that they've been waiting to ask, uh, try to, it can be a little personal, but not the any messages for me question. None of that. No, are there any messages for you? Ask a question that's pertinent to your life or pertinent to the universe that people need to know and want to know about. We'll take on all these questions, and you've got a whole room of channelists here that are willing to share that message. So it can be for any being in any timeline. It can be on any subject. You can ask for healing. You can ask for energy being sent, whatever it may be. So we're going to do it open like that. But first, we're going to do some prayers. And Angie, you want to interpret them? You got, yes? You're muted. Okay, great. All right, we'll go down the line. Susan, Barbara, are you going to do okay. Susan, Barbara, Dawn, Michael, Wendy. And Celeste, if you want to do a prayer as well, you might as well. So you have to let me know. I don't know who unmuted, but we'll start with Susan and then.
Okay.
Okay.
Susan, I just wanted to ask, do you get interpretations?
I do get some interpretation, but I'll try to do it at the end, which I think Krishna Priya had suggested
Okay.
previously.
I
I'll
just was
try
wondering,
to.
Just for the continuity.
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I've been trying to do that more. All right. Tasikaya tuya tia, hiasaya kukua tia yasia, tututu taya sita ya kakia, tutua ya tia ti, hazia kutia hiasikiti tia otu ya tita yasia. Hayatia, hiatia ya toto ya tia ya tia sukua, hiasia ya hia, toto ya tia ya kia utika ya ti, hiasia ya tuku tuya ya si, hiasia kuto ya tia ya tia, tuasi hayatia hukua. May the wonders of the universe fill your beingness. Let them come upon you as the rays of the sun are shining in greater and greater intensity upon your planet. You may feel your densities lifting. You may feel a greater expansion with your brothers and sisters in the oneness that you recently expressed with one another, that you recently are giving greater amplification to this understanding. Continue upon this path, for you are all one, as you know, in unity throughout your collective, that we are here to support you. We are here to honor you. We are expressing our love for you through these transmissions. So feel your way into your future. Do not be concerned with the changes upon your planet, for all will be aligned in the truth of Creator. Blessings.
Barbara, whenever you're ready. Beautiful, Susan.
Nati kisi sino hasahi Bakashahana, Sitiotnu, Washa, Gashimaha, Nodobahana Kisiatso, Kashahana, Dokushoyasha, Mani Asha Aro, Kiasa Kokoshi, Shinimiato Koshi, Shinmata, Koahiasa. Namaste. Angie?
Feel these new energies that are moving through and across your planet. These energies are changing cellular energies within you. These energies are bringing in new understanding within the DNA. These energies are given to you both from Gaia and Source.
Pashana akugmasa heta sashiana tusma halakaese. Shi amoroku la hala ukushne mishwa. Tesha ana ukama ego seneme uese ala. Ka aro uku uru nahasa nawe. Sa aro umra sanawe. Sahasha kamas.
We are watching from outside all of the things that are happening on the inside of this planet. We are watching with steadfastness in the sense that we are watching the people and how they are changing. Continue on your path. Continue with your movement.
Michael, did you want to do a blessing? It doesn't have to be light language, but it can be, or just a blessing.
I'll just say somewhat like a prayer. I just hope, send love, light, and blessings, and hope that, this is a wonderful channeling and just clear all negative and just be positive and bless everybody. And that's pretty much it. Blessings.
I can do one.
Okay, great. And then Wendy, sorry. And Celeste, if you
At kultura yet newtuk watinyak at need it and anyet up on kiana kitit anuto yet kunut yet nyata. As you are moving along your path, bring all that you have learned, bring all that you have from this life as well as others. You are moving forward rapidly in this incarnation.
Nyo shian ya hata kiro noro tu isia pa ni guru nya apara nya athi shikaturu yamara kien yoru hi ti e mahak chikuyama chi ne tho yama pata tu no tu chi mi ne era pa ba yen 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 yet kudu yama manai ti churu tu ha tu kuenya shiamai tu kuina tai tu kui papa. One moment for translation. My beautiful beloved souls, the codes have been brought to you. They've been downloaded within the Metatronic form of understanding, within the symbols of the numbers and the letters and the movement throughout the air, throughout the energy of all things. These codes have been given to you. As you begin to unfurl them within yourself, within your being, within your fields, and those of your family and friends, know that there will be a new awareness, a new kindness, a new love, a new vulnerability that all will see and sense and be connected to. We ask for your patience with others as they begin to unfurl themselves in this learning capacity of the new waves of frequency. We are here with you and we love you. Your galactic families in aggregate. Blessings.
Thank you. Okay. Celeste, did you want to do a blessing? Celeste? Okay, well, he probably stepped away for a moment. That's okay. Let me turn my audio back on. There, I mean my camera back on. So what we're going to do, as I explained at the beginning, but also for people in YouTube, we have a bunch of you guys over there. We're doing open channeling. So any questions that you have or any requests that you have, and we can see if someone can bring them in. We have someone speaking in, someone speaking in a language that's not coming through. I apologize. But anybody that has a question, or we can start with the people in the room. Is there anybody that has any questions that they would like channeled today? And if not, this whole thing falls apart. So please come up with some questions. So, Susan, you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
On Wednesday this week, I traveled up north to my piece of undeveloped land that I have up there, and I'm planning to put a gravel driveway in. And I was meeting with an excavator up there, but I was concerned about the nature beings, and I tried to, telepathically explain to them what I was doing or what the disruption would be, probably in the next month or so. But I did feel when I walked back into my woods a very loving, accepting, welcoming energy. And I'm just looking to see if there's any message from the nature beings from my property up north that about the upcoming disruption of putting in a driveway.
Well, it's kind that you're thinking of them.
Yes.
Yeah. And the intention of that and just giving them the warning is what I'm getting is enough.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I get that that's very well received. And then just do whatever you can to preserve as much as you can and disrupt as little as you can. You know.
Yes, I did specifically ask the excavator while there, about trying to save as many trees as possible that are kind of along the edges of the driveway, if he
Mhm.
can kind of swerve the driveway around trees.
Yeah.
And he agreed to that. He will try to save as many trees as possible, so that made me very happy. So
And then have them if they can, because they're going to have to know. And I mean, there might be one or two outliers, but that you can let the trees know, because trees can remove their consciousness at will from
yeah.
where they are. And they do that before storms. They do that when they're old. They go ahead and remove their consciousness from their being, and then they can infiltrate out into the rest, because trees communicate in that way, and it can go. So maybe if he would mark the trees that are intended to be taken down, then you probably won't be there when they do it.
Yeah, I
Probably.
won't be there, but he's very conscious. He's like, once you remove a tree, you can't bring it back, right? So he's very much on the same page, which made me happy about,
But you can telepathically tell the trees
yeah.
that if they get a mark on them, that means that they need to remove their consciousness, because they're going to be, taken down, and thank them for their sacrifice. And you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I've done that within my own property because I have 2.5 acres, and so I get a lot of volunteer baby trees like every year that I have to cut down. So I think you brought forth that message previously, and I have been doing that within my own property where I live, and so I think that's is well received. I've been asking them to remove, their energy before I cut them down, even though these are smaller trees, but
you know
but
so yeah.
okay.
Be sure. Angie, did you have something? Because you were nodding along there.
Yes, that was almost exactly what I got, the fact that you let them know. And when they came into this existence, there's like some animals too, things like that. When their consciousness came, what they said was, when you are ready, go to them and let them know. Because I mean, I pretty much heard the exact same thing that Krishna Priya heard. Just to thank them. Put your hands on the trees and thank them, and let them know that this space will be used for something beautiful, so it's an exchange of energy. Uh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I
I'm
can't
not,
hear you.
I wasn't
Oh,
saying.
sorry.
Oh, it was Susan was.
So yeah, so on Wednesday this past week, I was trying to do that while I was there too, is explain that this is for gathering family and friends together,
Right.
and so that we can enjoy the land together, with all the nature beings, and that, and
Mhm.
sending them my love for, yeah, any trees
Is
that would have to be removed to put in this driveway. But this is kind of the first step for
yes,
me to ultimately, you know, create my future retirement vacation property. And yeah, next year it might be a garage that I build, and, so on and so forth. So this is just the start. And yeah, so I did feel like they accepted my
yeah,
my message to them, and that it was good. So, but yeah, and also the First Nations people, that might be around that area too. So,
yes.
Also to the, I just want to just interject something. Also to the, not just the trees themselves, but also the nature spirits and,
Yes, that's what I
you
would,
know,
yes.
yes.
Yeah,
very.
yeah, it was for all of them. Yeah, all the nature
Maybe
beings
also
there.
leave a tribute to them, like, maybe you
Mm.
can put some nice shiny things out for them, or do some little things that they would like, but
Like
away from
crystal chips. We've spread those around the land in our travels and stuff. So,
maybe
so I
do
can do,
something like that in a safe area.
yeah,
Say just from now on, this area is no longer, designate it. This is not safe. Thank you for moving over here. Appreciate it. Please don't let it be disruptive, whatever it is. And
Right.
yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
also so that, if the trees know, and you can warn the birds and things like that. I mean, you don't want birds' nests
This
coming
is true.
down.
Mhm. Or
Well,
other
I'm
animal
hoping,
homes.
since it's the end of, it's fall, or going to be fall here shortly, that hopefully, yeah, their nests are complete, and, or their
Yeah, if
babies
their
are
nests
grown.
are complete, yeah, but if their nests are complete, some of them sleep in nests in the winter.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't want tearing down their nests while they're,
So
you know,
I'll continue to send blessings and messages
okay.
telepathically to them, and I don't know if I'll make it up there before the work is done. I was gonna go after,
Mhm.
um, but I can telepathically send the messages. I can do
100%
a
intention.
ceremony afterwards to, bless the land and clear the land, and,
Thank you.
bring good energy in. So,
Mhm.
okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so, Wendy has a question, and I see some of the questions in the YouTube chat. That's great. If you guys want to add some more, we'll keep going through them. Thank you, Suzanne.
Awesome. And Susan, I got the message that if you haven't already buried your offeranda, that would be a beautiful place to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, my question is, I had this dream where there was this little person and he went down this sidewalk. There was a slide. It turned into a slide, and on the right there were steps. And at the bottom of the slide, he comes down and through. And so now I'm in front of him, and there's all these, I'm thinking, gnomes, and they're coming out of a giant's mouth. This giant has his mouth wide open like a cave, and he's telepathically telling me that has everybody come through, and have they seen, do they have a chance to see the shed, or something about the container in the shed? And then as I was standing there, this large man looking person, yeah, definitely a man, and had red, pinky, puffy hair out past his shoulders. And he was walking with that gnome that had just come down the slide. And I said, "Oh, Sean, there you are." And then there was some kind of a written note that I was given that had Effeld, Effeld on it, that I was meeting Susan in Effeld. And so I'm wondering, as I was telling Sean that we were meeting Susan in Effeld, like what is this whole combination of the scenery that's happening between the giant and the gnomes and Sean and going to Effeld?
Angie, do you have information?
Yeah,
Anyone that has information can join in. So it's not just me, it's not just Angie, but also Barbara, Kat, Dawn. Anyone that has information.
the first thing that I'm getting is that there are many different events or places and groupings that you are going to be going to. And it's like, so it's not so much a feel good it, but it's who's with you and what it is that you're doing. So all I basically got initially was that it's about your movement or events that you will be going to. That was the big one that I got. And then after that, it just stopped, but it was about you creating events and going places.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else? I know it was an unusual one.
I'll just say I just got that it's so much so that they like trust that the people that are gonna need to be there are gonna show up. Because it's just like all of the sudden these beings came out of the mouth of this giant. What a visual. But you know, they were there in the right moment in the right time. And for me, that feels very poignant. Like, don't worry about sometimes when we try to plan things, and we should plan as much as we can if it's necessary. But sometimes when we try to plan things, we need people and others to help us execute it, and just trust that the people that you need to be there in the right moment at the right time will be there, unbeknownst to you. And you may or may not know who they are yet. And there might be some you're looking for that you're wanting, but others, new ones may as well show up. And probably in a way that you would not expect, like coming out of the mouth of a giant. And maybe, hopefully not literally, but you never know. You never know in this world. But I feel like, to me, what stuck out to me, even though you might not have expressed it, it was that's unexpected. Like, that's like, oh, and usually when the universe does something for us, it's generally with spectacular execution in a way we didn't expect. So that's what makes it exciting and even more of a miracle and more serendipitous than if it just happened, or more synchronistic. So I would just say trust, go forward, know that the people that you need will be there in the right moment, the right time, and in the right way. That's what I took from it.
Oh, beautiful. And actually the giant's mouth reminded me, I was like, it's like a fun house. So yeah, that resonates. Thank you. Thank you both.
Oh, you're welcome. I think Susan has an interpretation for you.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't know if I can add anything, but I definitely resonated with your message. Let's see. So as we begin to receive messages about where to go on our travels, which has been recently happening into 2025, yeah, continue to trust that we will be guided by our teams as to the unfoldment of these events together. That, as you've expressed, let the fun begin. let the let the let the timing align to where to go and when, and all shall magically appear as it should. So yeah, I was definitely feeling the same type of feeling, but yeah. But we have recently have been channeling about where to go next year and to do events, and so this, yeah, does align with that. So beautiful.
Cool. Thank you all.
You're welcome. All right, does anyone else have a question? If not, we've got one in the YouTube chat. Post-human 3 wants someone who can channel K-Pax. I don't know if there's anybody who can channel that. And maybe give us a number to read backward and forward 3 times like they did last time. I don't know what the, must not have been here when that happened. Does anyone recall that? Or does anyone have any information?
I don't recall
I'm
that
gonna,
either.
K-Pax, I'm gonna, do you, Michael, do you? No.
I don't recall.
Okay, I will, K-Pax, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw you forward to Jim's channeling next week and we'll save that as a question, but I don't know that there's anybody here that would know or could maybe contact that being or that. K-Pax, isn't that from a movie? Isn't that movie with, I think that's a
It's
movie.
with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Texas.
okay. I don't know if that's based on a true story, but it may be. Okay, but we'll save that question for Jim. All right, Michael had a question. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, before we went live, me and Kristen was talking about get rid of, all your family, because I've
Not your
felt this.
family, your family karma.
Yeah, I've known for a long time that I was like the black sheep, that I'm the one that's supposed to stop it. But does anybody have any channeling, any messages on what would be the best way of eliminating you so it don't go forward and clearing family karmic that's happened throughout, spread it out the branches of the olive tree? If that makes any sense?
Sure. I can give an answer. I'm sure a lot of people have a way to, I know the best way you clear any karma is by, first of all, truly getting in touch with you as yourself as a divine being, and then living in accordance to that truth in alignment with what you really know to be the way to be, basically. And usually one of the best ways to clear karma is to be in service to the world on some level, because it becomes not about what about me, but it comes what can I do for the world? And those things, that giving heart that we all have, but maybe don't always have an opportunity to use, is the one way that, at least in Hinduism, they say to clear karma is to be in service to the world on some level, whether it's feeding the poor or teaching children or being a good son, taking care of your mom on some level, but to really do something where you're in service. And then the other things you do is all the internal shadow work. You do all the work with yourself so that this is the thing with karma. Karma is only the fruit of a labor. You can have a beautiful sweet fruit and you can have a very bitter fruit. It's from the position that we're in at this time in the world, how we approach the challenges we have. And our challenges, we say those are karma, but all the blessings in our life are also karma. But the ones that are the hardest to swallow from this fruit are the challenging ones. And so how we approach our challenges has everything to do with where we are in our life right now. So if you find that anger is your first response, therein is the work. Because what other karma do you create in having an angry reaction, or being rude to someone, or stealing from someone, or abusing someone? And I don't mean, abuse, but it could be, but it also, I mean, abuse of being mean to them, or, not helping your neighbor. All of these karmic things that you create, whether, on every level, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, that's will be the fruit that you will get later, and maybe your children will get later. So as challenges come into your life, it's not judgment. It's not like, oh, I must have been terrible in a past life, because we've had so many past lives. Of course we were terrible. Of course we've been wonderful. We've been all of the things, but it's how we approach what we get now. There's people that really rise to the occasion of their life, and there's people that really don't. They go completely the opposite way. They have a challenge and they completely fall apart, and they're like, who cares? I don't care. And then they even go on to create more trauma and drama for themselves. So the work that we do on ourselves is not just the selfish, oh, I'm going to take care of myself and work on myself. We're taking care of ourselves so that when we're going through our lives, we go through our lives with grace, with a sense of the idea of oneness, who we are. If we looked at everybody and said, there's God, there's God, there's God, there's God, then it would be a much different thing of, oh, that jerk, that person, that guy cut me off. This person's a jerk. This person's even more stronger words than that. It's a much different perspective. And even if that person that you know to be God does something wrong to you, your ability to handle it may be much different in your perspective. And just like Jim said at the retreat, which I thought was a brilliant way of said it, he said that forgiveness of another human being is not the same as justice. Justice can be done for someone who's done something really wrong, and they'll get justice, but it may not be through your hand. It probably wouldn't. It would be through the powers that be, whether it's the police or the government or just natural selection. But we don't have to worry so much about justice, even though we might need to seek it. But the forgiveness that we have and the approach we have to that person really comes from how we are structured within ourselves. And a lot of the things of healing is forgiveness, and forgiveness goes a long way to healing karma, because we forgive ourselves, we forgive the people, and then we find that ability to be centered. And I'm saying it like it's just, it can be, but it's not. It's a lot of times a very long process of learning to release it. And we learn to release it by realizing we're not our bodies. I'm Krishna Priya having a Krishna Priya experience, you're Michael having a Michael experience, but ultimately we're divine beings having human experiences. And the divine being is something that never changes. It's never born, it never dies, it cannot be hurt in any way. So when you identify more with that than this, you have a much different perspective. And when you realize that the person that you're dealing with is you, not you. The person you're dealing with is not Michael. The person I'm dealing with is not Krishna Priya. The person I'm dealing with is that aspect of the divine. So when we say, and we look around and say that person is me, it's not me as the little me. I'm doing sign language. It's not little me. It's the big I am. It's the big me. So when you're seeing another person and you're saying that person is me, you're saying that person is also divine, just like me, with the same attributes as me. What they choose to do in their life experience is a whole other thing. But if you know that that person is also divine, then your ability to forgive them, to understand them, to move through your life in a way that maybe nurtures them in some level or doesn't do harm to them and doesn't perceive harm being done to you is a lot more real. And that's where your healing comes in. That's what forgiveness is about. That's what getting connected to yourself is about. So how we heal karma, we heal it through forgiveness, we heal it through service to others, we heal it for doing the work on ourselves. That's my short 20-minute answer that I would give you for that. So do you have any questions about that, or
No, that's wonderful.
did anyone else
Spot
have
on.
anything they want to say about that? Susan.
Yeah, I resonated with everything you said. It was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, the same thing is, yeah, learning to have compassion for yourself and the other person through whatever experiences you have with them, and yeah, learning to understand where your perception comes from, like what stories do you have within your own consciousness that you are laying upon that experience that you're having with the other person, and understanding that once you clarify your own mind and are ready to like perhaps release that story of suffering, and realizing that it's your mind that and your perception that is creating suffering for yourself, because you're the one laying meaning
upon your experience with that other person. So it's kind of coming to a point where you're willing to let the old stories go of pain, of suffering, that sort of thing, and you're willing to forgive yourself and forgive the other person in the sense that the meaning you've been laying upon the experience isn't aligned with your highest truth as a divine being, as what Krishna Priya said, that you realize that, like, I believe, that we create our reality in a sense through our own perceptions, through our own stories, through our own beliefs that we hold within our own consciousness. And once you let go of those stories and replace it with something positive and loving and having compassion for yourself and the other person, that you're not, as what was said, the small human having this human experience, that you are this eternal, free, unlimited being, in truth, and so is the other person, and learning to see them in that light and see yourself in that light, and releasing that, okay, this is just, we're just having an experience, and you can learn from that experience and move on, and you know have better experiences as you move forward in your life, and replace, and to me that's kind of like how you clear karma as well, is like having that compassion, that love for yourself, but like what was said, seeing the divine aspect of God in the other person, and that they may not be aware of what they're doing. They're coming into their awakening just as you are, as you go through your life, and having that compassion for both yourself and the other person. So I guess that's the only thing I had to add. But what you said, Christian Priya, was amazing. So
Well,
I do
perfect.
have
Thank you.
something to add too. Yep.
Sure, go ahead. Thank you, Susan.
Everything that everyone is saying, that it really truly is right on target. The other piece that I want to add into that is, so many there are quite a few channelers out there that say that you create your own reality, and it falls, all of what we're doing about really being the person that we need to be is creating our own reality, is creating how we react to every situation, is creating who we are in that situation. So that is, I did want to bring that up, that, not being able to understand that, if, 10 years ago, what do you mean I create my own reality? What do you mean that, it's now it's truly, definitely, even just including this gathering that we had and all the information that is just another piece to our own personal growth and evolution. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And actually, I'm gonna, Adriana, I'm gonna turn off your camera just for a second, and just because, and I'm gonna turn off the camera. Let me see. Don't show. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, let me see. And Kat's camera's on, but it's not on, so I'm gonna. In any case, what I just wanted to add to that is, the one thing that we have for ourselves and for other people a lot of times is judgment, and it's just not necessary in the whole scheme of things. That's the hardest thing, of like the judgment, like we talk about in the Bible, there's judgment of God, and there may or may not be in the way we think, but karma is real, and the karmic fruits that we gather are real. But judgment is putting us a position to justify anything that we want to say about another person, or any thought that we want to have about another person. So my feeling is that the problem with judgment is not the ugliness of it, because it is ugly, but it's the really truly having this idea of the separation of who we are versus who they are. And if we talk about oneness all the time, and we talk about that, we're all one, and God is everything, and we're part of God, but we judgment is us denying that that other person is also that. And so that's why I would say to avoid the judgment as much. And if you have to walk away saying, they're God, they're God, they're God, to yourself, fine. But that love of humanity is really born out of the realization of who you are. And so if you're not able to see another person as divine, then ultimately you're probably not seeing yourself as divine. Because the part of the realization of your divinity is the instant understanding of oneness. And when you do that, there's no question. So somewhere there's a disconnect. And I feel like some of us have it for a moment and then we lose it because it's a hard concept, because it's very big. It's a very big concept. So the what we should seek, even as opposed to healing, when we look at healing, but we would be instantly healed if we knew who we were. And I would say, make that the priority. I want to understand myself. My intention is to understand myself as divine, not in the way of I'm God, so I can do what I want, or I'm God and I'm great. It's more of I'm God and I am part of this incredible creation, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the rapturous. I'm part of all of it. And I know you're part of it too. That's the whole gist to so many of the spiritual questions we have. If you knew who you are, if you really knew who you were, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be an issue. It just wouldn't. The decisions we would make, we would take other people into account. What is good for them? What will help them? What will help other people thrive? How can we run our society better? How would we treat our neighbor better? How would we treat the animals, the environment, all of it better? Because why would we want to hurt ourselves? We wouldn't. It wouldn't even be a question. We'll be working very actively to make sure that there's enough water for everyone, that there's enough food for everyone, that everyone has a place to live, that everyone has the medical care that they need. We wouldn't be in this thing of us and them. And as long as there's the idea of the other on any level, there's the work that has to be done. There's the work. So any question about healing really comes down to realizing who you are. And I'm talking about healing on the emotional, mental, and spiritual level. It could be physical, but sometimes a physical challenge that we have is part of the experience that we want. And even if we think we don't want it, on some level, we might have chosen it. And we can also take the same position on, if there's a person out there doing terrible things in the world, their role may be very different than what we perceive. It doesn't mean we don't speak out against them. It doesn't mean we don't seek justice against them, but their role might be part of helping other people wake up. So the bottom line is we really need to know ourselves. And then that goes the longest way into healing, into ascension, into enlightenment, and into being who we really are. So that's another part of the answer I just wanted to share there. Any questions? We should maybe go to the YouTube chat then. Let's see. Are you okay, Michael? Is that good for you? Did you have any other comments or? Oh, we lost him. Okay, well, I'm sure he'll be back and he can listen in the replay. Can everyone on the screen see the people that are, am I on the screen with 3 people or not? Okay, I changed it.
Yeah, there's more than 3.
That are on the screen right now? I just spotlighted myself, so probably not at this moment. They've changed YouTube around. I mean, not YouTube, Zoom around, so it's hard to manage it. Okay, Luba has a question. She says, hello. That's her first statement. She says, I'm using a pendulum very often, and most of the time I get the right or correct answers. But when it comes to myself and my family, I always get wrong answers. I wonder why. And yeah. So anyone have an answer? I have an answer, but I've been talking now for a good few minutes. So if anyone else has an answer, feel free to jump in as to why she's not able to get the answers for her family and herself. Anybody have an answer? No?
I know I think I've sometimes experienced that too, because I guess my interpretation when I get a wrong answer is it's maybe that I already have a preconceived notion of what the answer should be or what I want it to be. So it's kind of like if your own perception is kind of getting in the way of or expectation of what you want to get as an answer, that could be possibly the
Yeah.
reason. At least I've like when I've experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually probably pretty much what I was going to say. It's just sometimes when you're asking something personal or for someone that you like I prefer to do readings for people I don't know because even your little knowledge of them can influence the way that you get information. But when you're dealing with a pendulum, it's pretty much yes, no, unless you have a pendulum wheel that goes to a certain answer. But it is still your hand holding the pendulum itself, and you're just less attached to the answer if it's not your family or if it's not you. Because, and the tendency also is to ask again and again and again if you don't get the answer. I actually did a reading for someone the other day, and she was actually expressing this exact same thing. And my pendulum, if I ask it too much, will just refuse to move anymore. It just won't move. It'll just be like, screw it, I'm not answering at all. But I think my tulip, I mean the being that runs my pendulums called Tulip, and Tulip will refuse to answer. She will also hide under the couch or fly off the table because she sometimes just doesn't want to be involved in the mundane questions that I ask her continuously. So I would say that that's when, going to someone else that you know and trust to use the pendulum would be the optimal thing to do, just because they won't be attached. And then for them, they're not trying to influence it in any way. But when we do, it's because it's just such a subtle, that's why lie detector tests work, because it's the subtle movement within the energetic parts of your fingers that can say if it's a lie or not a lie, right? So when you're holding a pendulum, you're holding it with those same two fingers that are, using energy, that has energy running through. And I would say maybe the answer might not be what you want to hear, so you ask again, and then you never know what's happening. So, but we tend to not be able to read ourselves that well. And generally, if it's something that we need to know and it's something we don't want to know, we think that that's the wrong answer too. That can't be right. Let me try this.
Yeah,
This is
I have really good feedback on that.
good.
So for working with your pendulum, I
Mhm.
think it's first and foremost to know that it's not just you that's running your pendulum, that when you reach out to your light team and say, these answers are your answers, and then just trust that the answers are the accurate answers from your light team. So you wouldn't ask the same questions, just like Krishna Priya said, again and again and again. You'd ask once, and what your answer is, document it, and then that's the answer, end of story. And so, and just like the girls were both saying, Susan mentioned this as well, that when you start thinking about it, then you stop trusting your team to do the work, and then that's when you put your own energy into it, and your energy is where you're getting, oh, is it this or is it that? Or once I got a yes, and then now I got a no. The other thing can be that based on the question that you're asking, if you're asking a week apart, the energy may have changed. And so the answer may have changed. So the important thing is to know, to trust your light team, to trust that the answer that you're getting is the correct answer at the time, document it, move away, move to the next thing. And if it's not the answer that you wanted to receive, that's when you start to question, oh, maybe I'm not getting the right answer. So that's been my strong experience. Also, make sure that you're clearing your pendulum on a regular basis, and that you are using either white light, the violet flame, or you can put it in salt, and then of course dispose of that salt afterwards. And as well as when you're doing pendulum work, you can ask your pendulum each time. Make sure that you are always asking, what's my yes, what's my no. And some pendulums will show you a maybe, And if you're working with the chart, then that's, that's a little more advanced, but it's also effective as well. So that's my recommendation for pendulum work. Stay the course. And the last thing is your intent. As I'm working with my pendulum, the answers that I receive will be truthful, accurate, and of pure light. Because when you set that intention, because I heard in the question, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, so I don't trust it. So basically, you're saying I don't trust myself. So, and not saying that you don't always go to that point, but you can based on what the query is. So again, just make sure you connect in with your light team, ask for pure messages, accept the message that you receive at that time, document it, and then move on from there.
Mhm.
And that's all I have on that. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing is too, what she was saying about the time when you're asking, especially if you're asking about something that involves choices or circumstances of other people, you have a lot of free will going on there, and especially if it involves, more than one person. But even when it's just one person, a person can change their mind 15 times. So that's why even when you're on a diet, they say just weigh yourself once a week, because the course of the week, your weight can go up and down and up and down. So, ask if you need to ask over a period of time, ask once, wait a week, ask another time, because things can shift. Things can really shift. And it may be even the thing that you're asking about after a week is inconsequential anyway. So it may not even matter in the end. But if you find, even by employing all of these tactics, that you're not getting the right answer, then I would say that's when you go to someone like Susan or Wendy and get a pendulum reading, and then you can trust the answer. But pendulums are fun, and I've had the same one for more than 20 some years. But as I said, I trust her, but she is very cantankerous and doesn't always want to answer the questions. And that, you can try, I could trust her, but is she going to answer the questions? Sometimes for me is is the question. She may or may not be in agreement to answer that question. All right, let me see. There's a question from, and her continued statement is, I often see numbers 99 actually every day and even a few times a day. What's that meaning? Anyone want to take that?
There's a website from Joanne Scribes that has angel numbers, and it has the definition of all these repetitive numbers, and even some that are, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or, whatever numbers that you're coming up and seeing frequently. And I recommend her site. It's very extensive. She does a lot of work.
Yeah, it's Joanne Sacred Scribe. So if you Google Joanne, Joanne, Sacred Scribes, yeah, it's a whole index of numbers up to like 1,000 of all these angel messages. So I've referred to that for, gosh, 20 years now, and it's been very helpful.
I'll give my interpretation. 99 is interesting because you flip it, it's also 66. So 9 and 9 are the end of a cycle, but if you do 99, that is sort of also the end of a cycle moving into 100. 9 moves into 10. So, and 1 is always the beginning. So that's also the beginning of ending. How do you say, that's the ending of a cycle, beginning of a new cycle. What's interesting is in numerology, you would add the 9 and the 9 and you would get 18, but then you would add the 1 and the 8 and then you would get again 9. So it's sort of a triple emphasis of moving into a new cycle in your life. And just noticing around you what seems to have, and the thing is, cycles are not generally one-offs. There's a cycle, just like the year is a cycle. You have spring going into summer, going into fall, going into winter, and it just happens over and over again. But there's many things in our lives that we start at the beginning, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, a new decade of our life. It may not be the exact decade of 20 to 30. It could be 25 to 35, but any anything that's divided by that 10 years, there is a cycle that naturally runs through it. And you go through times of learning, times of integration, times of challenge, times of overcoming, times of abundance. And so just finding what that cycle that you have been dealing with, and I would look at 99 in conjunction with my age and what's going on with myself. So I could figure out what part of the challenge that has been going on with me for that last, say, 9 to 10 years. I would look at what is that, and is that shifting and changing now? And it just might be the universe signaling to you that some things are about to shift and some things are about to change. So I would take it as that. And then I would also flip it, because you have a mirror number there of the 6-6, and 6 is about service. It's about being important in your community, doing work in your community. That could be in your children's school, it could be in your actual neighborhood, it could be in your larger community, but being in service in some way. And then that 6 and 6 becomes 12, which becomes 3, and 3 is also a number of unity. So it would be about coming into service through unity, is how I would interpret that. So, and the fact you're seeing it every day, it's really trying to tell you you're coming into an end of your cycle. You really, I would make the 99 more prominent, because that's what you're seeing, but the 6 and 6 would have also some influence there. So that's how I would take it. If anyone has anything to answer for that. No? Okay.
No, I agree. 99 is, yeah, about like completion of a phase in your life, and perhaps looking at okay, where do I go from here?
Exactly.
What is my next phase?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Adriana, who's now in the room, said, what are we doing? We're doing open channeling today. We're just taking questions from anyone that has a question, and then the group is using their own abilities to answer them. We're not particularly channeling any being, but we're just bringing through information. So any questions that anyone has, they can ask. Let's see. BD player, if someone wants to train telepathy, then how do you call somebody? How do you know you are called, and how do you answer the call? Well, if you're training telepathy, because you're not saying doing telepathy, if you're training telepathy, you would want to train it with another person. So at least both of you are consciously doing the activity, as opposed to you calling someone who's not even awake and unaware that they're getting a call, because they might just be like, oh, I'm thinking of BD, but I don't know why. So if you can find a telepathy partner, then you would agree, just like if you're learning remote viewing, you would have a target, and you would set up a paradigm, not a paradigm, you would set down up a protocol of what is it that you're trying to do. And you would, and if you're first training telepathy, you would not be sending or transmitting complex thoughts. It could be just a word or a picture. A picture that corresponds to a word would also be good. Like, for instance, barn, a barn. You could write the word barn, but you could also image the word barn, and then you would set up a time and a date that you would both sit down with one sending. And I don't recommend one send one send the other, because you want it to be very clean, and you don't want to get messages in the crosshairs or switching, and you're sending barn, but you're only seeing barn because you're not sure if you're sending or receiving. So you would set up a protocol that on, say, Monday, from this time to this time, you are transmitting barn for 5 or 10 minutes, and then that person at that exact same time would be, and I'll answer. I already heard the question, because I heard someone protest, but I'm going to continue that that they would sit down and receive at that same time. The way that you would do it is you would go into a sort of slightly meditative state where you're really still, but you're very conscious, getting down, if you can, into the delta state. You can do that through binaural beats. You can get as far down into that state where you're still conscious but still able to receive. And then you would check with each other and see what they got, and they could either draw it, or they would actually just have a memory of it. And that's how you would train it. You could also agree to do transmission in dream time, that you go to sleep thinking of that word, that thing, and then when they go to sleep, they've already set the intention that they're open. But that's how you would train it. And as you go further and you're able to exchange in a controlled environment, back and forth, I see your barn, I raise you a cow, and you're able to send the cow back and they're able to get the cow, then you can start to have a conversation. And as you become more open to what it feels like to receive the information, the other thing is with telepathy, you have to know how you receive information, first of all, because everyone receives information differently. Some people hear, some people see, some people feel, and some people know. So how you perceive is really how you are supposed to set yourself up. For instance, in my psychic abilities, I clearly know, I get downloads, I clearly hear, and I get flashes, I see. What I get more than is the most dominant one is the one that I would start with. For me, I get downloads of knowledge. I also feel, but I get downloads of knowledge. And if I was working on telepathy, I would work more with my mental aspect. If you're someone who hears, the way of the telepathy would to be really listening. It's not so much you're going to hear the word outside, but you'd hear it inside. If you're someone who sees, then you would be looking inside your mind for a picture of something to flash up. So it's important to know how that person perceives and experiences, especially in the beginning. The other ways of perception can come online and be developed, but if you're just starting and you want to start today, you're going to have a dominant way of perception, and you're going to want to use that as your receptor. And if so, for instance, if your friend that you're working with, you know that they're hearing, then you may want to send them the sound of the word barn. If you know that they see, then you send them the picture of the word barn. Do you know what I'm saying? So you work with people where they're at, and as things develop, then you would get it. The other thing is that I have to believe, just like prayer is an invocation of God, that we would receive a phone call from someone as an invitation to connect. I don't believe that you're going to be able to, it doesn't seem to be fruitful to have people who are constantly invading your thoughts with phone calls that you may or may not want. So on a telepathic basis, I have to believe that there's some kind of either a gatekeeper there, like you would set up yourself, or that you're open to the invocation of that person calling, and then when you tune into them, of course you would get the information, but not so much that they just can start implanting, because think how invasive that'll be. Think of telemarketers that call you all the time. You don't want that, and you're definitely not going to want that. And there would also, I have to believe, be this sort of universal mind where there's a lot of things floating like a giant radio station, and you will learn to tune into it. But the calling, placing the call, at first would be done with very strong intention. And then also later on, as it becomes more automatic, with invitation. That's my feeling on that. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And I know it's like Wendy and I in this group will have spontaneous telepathic moments where we'll recognize it. But one thing I wanted to mention, you can also practice telepathy with your pets, with animals, even wild animals too, I suppose. But I've done this for years where it's let's say your pet is doing an undesirable behavior, and instead of visualizing what it is you don't want them to do, visualize what it is you want them to do instead. And you have that picture within your mind, and you send them this this image that you have in your mind of what you want them to do, and instead of the undesirable behavior, and then seeing if that changes their behavior. So that's another way you can kind of practice telepathy if you have a pet. You can just, yeah, try to send a visual picture along with like a good feeling with it, and see if that affects their behavior, if there's a response in return. And but I agree that, yeah, you can, like, I get the words and phrases that pop in my head, clear cognizance, and I get the feeling or sensitivity to energy where I'll feel the energy of something. But I'll also get the visual in my like with my eyes closed, I'll get a visual or picture. That's how yeah, where my psychic senses are the strongest. And so I agree with, yeah, everything you said as far as, the way that you naturally normally receive information, or the other person, if you're practicing with another person, um, trying to, yeah, align in that way that you're sending information that aligns with how they are open to receiving it. And then I also have heard that as humanity moves to being more telepathic, the first step to that is empathy. So it's, yeah, tuning into the feeling of something, or what feel, like if you're receiving a certain feeling. I know there was an exercise I did in a class a long time ago where we took turns kind of sitting in a circle, and there'd be like two or three people that would leave the room, and the rest of us in the circle would focus on a certain emotion like anger, love, um, bliss, happiness, And so we would all focus on anger, for example, and then the two or three people would come back, sit in the middle of the circle, and we'd all project that energy of anger towards them and see what they picked up. And it was correct every time.
Yeah.
Like the people, you could feel the energy in the body, and yeah, so it was amazing exercise if you have a group of people, and how like when you go, the energy of a room, like you go to a party or something, you can feel the energy of the room, the vibes, good vibes, bad vibes, so to speak. That's one exercise in tuning in to how what the energy that you're receiving and how it feels, and that there's always that kind of connection as well, that you're connecting to other people's energy all the time. and and you're usually, as long as you listen into, yeah, your inner guidance about what you're receiving, it's usually always accurate. So that you're kind of, picking up on that energy. And so that's another practice that is, tuning into how you feel by what you're receiving. And yeah, it's about feeling as well.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful point, because there's so much telepathy that we already have going on. And the fact that we, don't think it's telepathy, we just sort of take it for granted that we know how people are feeling. I mean, that is a form of it. So whatever you do understand and feel about other people, it's about expanding that, like starting there and working beyond that. That's why I was saying, like, know how you perceive things, know how your person you're practicing with perceives things, because you want to expand what's already working, what's already available to you, so that you can get there easier. Don't reinvent the wheel. But there is so much telepathic things coming. I mean, people get, there's sometimes when a tragedy happens in the world, or something fantastic happens, and there's sort of a collective joy, there's a collective sadness that everyone can feel in a very visceral way. And that's definitely the empathy that we feel for each other, and being able to hold space for that. So I think that's a really good addition to the question. Okay, let's move on to the next question, unless anyone in the room has a question. I don't see them, but you can ask. Radha wants to know, what is my connection to I can't say it. Gobekli Tap. I always thought it was Gobek.
Go back to Tapri.
Yes, thank you. That place in Turkey. And well, I have a feeling it's because you have a connection there. That's just simple. I want to say this to everyone, because this is like drives me crazy, because people are always like, what's my connection to this? What's my connection to that? Why do I like this? Why do I like that? Because you have some connection to it. If you didn't, you wouldn't. That's the the baseline answer. What the actual, I can imagine you're probably are incarnated there. You were probably part of the fabric of what was going on there. And it was a significant lifetime where you wouldn't really care too much about it, or you wouldn't feel a real draw to it. That's my feeling, but that's true for anyone. So someone says, I really like Pleiadians. What, do I have a connection to Pleiadians? Yes, you've actually said you have a connection by saying you like them. Do you know what I mean? There's a connection there. And the reason that you have it, the reason anything comes into our intention, it becomes a pull for us, a pull to explore it, a pull to look at it, a pull to learn more about it, is because we do have a connection. So I would say, I would have restated my question, my dear Radha, as I know that I have a connection to Gobekli Tepe that she can't say, and I want to know more about what part of that is influencing my lifetime now. That's how I'd phrase the question, but it's your question. So, but I just want to kind of, tell everyone that just to trust that that thing that pulls you, it's not just pulling you for the fun of it. It's pulling you because it's part of you. It's really part of you on some lifetime, some energetic way. So Susan seems to have an answer, so I'm going to be quiet about it. But I really believe that my feeling is, and I can see you there, walking around, having something to do with life there, whether it was just you were a villager there or you had some actual important job there, but you were very much a part of that place and influenced by it. And those influences that you had there are also here. And I would say you were probably some kind of priestess there or priest there. Okay, go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, as you were speaking, I was kind of getting a visual of, yeah, more, I was leaning more towards priest or like a scholar of sorts, a wise man, a learned man in a sense, and respected within the community in that respect. At least that's what I was picking up on. That I also saw kind of a visual of you walking through the streets. I almost saw like a turban on your head. And kind of walking with like some scrolls under your arm. At least that's the visual I was getting. But yeah, it was kind of that kind of priest, scholar, learned, like a spiritual leader within the community and respected in that light. That, yeah.
Yeah, I feel there's some influence that you had in some decision making or policy making and procedural influence, like how things were done, why they were done that way. And it could have been based on your knowledge of, spiritual matters or, your knowledge of the politic of the time, but you had some position of authority there. And I'm seeing you in more like white cream colored cloth, wearing that. That's how I see. And I definitely see you walking. Now that she says scrolls, I can see them too. And I love scrolls, so that's a really favorite thing.
And it was, yeah, like flowing, like a tunic, flowing pants, perhaps. Yeah, like or a flowing, like a full outfit. Flowing
I'm getting
clothes
that
is
she
what I
was
saw too.
stepped into this. I'm getting the message. She was part of the planning committee.
Yeah, I almost got a feeling of like civil engineer. Yeah, and that, like when you were talking about being kind of, yeah, like political leaders or like a leader within the community, and when you were talking about that, like the scrolls kind of made me feel like what you just said, a planning, yeah, on a planning committee, maybe for structural buildings within the community or organization of the community. Yeah, I kind of got that feeling as well.
Okay, great. Perfect. I'd like to know what Radha, if she has information, what she thought. Okay. Posthuman, I think that's a question. I don't think that we should reach that question live. I would just I don't think that we should take that question. If what's happening is what you say is happening, I don't think it's a question for this live chat. That would be something to maybe reach out to Jim for and have a reading with him. Does anyone else in our room have any questions or no? Because we're 1.5 hours in, and if we don't have any questions, oh, Adriana, I heard a story about the 12 original soul tribes. Some of them were the builders, the planters, the scholars, etc. Yeah, I mean, there's many stories. So, Adriana, what and from where did you hear your story? Can you unmute or no? Mondayon. Is that a channeler or I don't know who that is.
Hi. Yeah, Mundian is a channeler with your group, the Hucolo group. And I think it was him that talked about it.
Who channeled that?
Um, the guy's name is Mundian. He's channeled for you guys before.
Okay.
It's
That's the
Mundian
name of his channel. I
Oracle.
forget. He's Danish.
Oh, I know who you're talking. You're talking about Rohan. No, or are you?
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Okay.
Mundian Oracle, it's a different guy, and
Is it a different
I'm
guy?
his name's escaping, but he has a YouTube channel called Mundian Oracle.
You're
Oh,
right, Susan.
But it was a long time ago that he was the guest channeler,
Right.
probably years ago.
do you remember his first name? I think I know who you're talking about. He was on I had him on like for a month or something, or for a couple months. I had him on once a month or something, right?
He was
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Is he still channeling even?
I
Yes,
don't know.
on his own YouTube channel called Mundian Oracle
Yeah.
or
Well,
Oracles.
yeah, I would say I don't know his story about it, but I know from my own uh understanding that there's 12 is one of those numbers that's always recurring within the history of humanity and their, sort of their oral history, their written history, and how things are always made up. There's 12 tribes of Israel, there's 12 of this, 12 of that. So it may be in reference to those things, but in any society, it's just not one thing or the other. You have scholars, you have the physicians, you have the planners, you have the people that are the leaders of anything. So I don't have any information basically on what he said, but I would just say that, there's more, it's always 12 for some reason. It's just society. There's just always, and even across the world, like the 12 tribes that spread out and did the thing, and even within society, there's 12. It's just one of those numbers that seems to make sense in the origin of all society. And I don't know exactly why that is, but yeah. And I would say that if he's channeling that, I would refer to his information probably on that. But I'm not saying it's wrong or right. It's probably dead on right, but I don't know exactly what he channeled, so I can't comment on it at all.
Fair enough. Can I ask one other question? It's okay
Sure.
to say, shift it over to Jim or private session or whatever. I was sitting in I went to my Buddhist temple and I was sitting there and I had been wondering for some time about moving. And then I got this like hit of knowing, and it was like, oh, that's why I'm here where I live. But I had no other information than that, other than this epiphany of, oh, that's why. It's like, I still don't know why.
Well, you were asking, so was the conclusion you should move or not move?
Not move. And
Okay.
I'm just wondering if anyone could provide me with any more information. If they can't, thank you anyways.
Well, my immediate feeling is if you were hit with the information of why you're there, then the reason why you're there is still relevant, and that's why you're not supposed to move.
True, true. I still don't know what the reason is. I just know stay put.
Oh, because you said you were told the why you were supposed to be where you were. You don't know why.
Right. I don't know why. I just know that I'm supposed to be here.
If that's the case and you're being told like not to move, then it means that whatever you're there to do is not completed. And it may not be actually relevant for you to know at the moment, but that it will appear in the moment that it's supposed to appear. It's kind of like something will unfold for you that's important for you to do and or experience. And then you would be sort of released to move. But since it hasn't happened, just trust that you are exactly where you need to be. Sometimes we don't really know, and and actually we don't even know until like in retrospect, we look back, like you know,
Mhm.
you get this epiphany of, oh, that's the reason why. But if you got a very strong no, I would just trust that that's all the information that is relevant for you at this moment and just say, okay, because so much of like our guidance is just saying yes to it. You're told you're not supposed to move. Okay. And then all the other stuff. You could force the move, but it might just throw off your sort of plan somehow or some way, or be a very inharmonious thing to do for yourself. I mean, you can overrun the will of, you know, the plan that you're on or the track that you're on, but it usually doesn't go that well and that smooth. So if your question is, am I supposed to move? The answer is no. That's the answer. That's all you need to know at the moment.
That's what I thought, but I figured I'd ask. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Who had the question? Susan has a question. Go ahead, Susan. Wendy, who has a question? I'm not sure. Susan has a question. I get you
So,
two, you're two totally different people, but in my mind,
well, we were sisters in another lifetime. So, we are like telepathically connected. We are kind of, yeah, closely connected in that way. Um, so my question is, so during the Oneness gathering, I got the message through channeling from Jim. He was channeling the Orions, and I knew that I was on the Orion Council as a treaty writer in a Egyptian like past life as this guy named Ramses, but I also had previously got the message that I am currently on the council, and so I was asking about that and if I had a different name, and I was given the name Fintoniash, like Fintonyesh, Fintoniash, and that I'm a male, and that I'm actually on the Orion Council of Nine. So I'm just wondering if you have any information or messages as far as what type of work I'm currently doing. I know that Jim had brought through the JUOG that will be, have a contract to, it sounds like, to make first contact the end of next year or the beginning of the following. Um, and that I'm working on doing some treaty writing, I think, with them on their way to Earth, so to speak, for first contact. So I'm just wondering if there's any information more about who I am as Fintoniash on the Orion Council 9 and the type of work I'm perhaps doing currently, whether it's preparation for first contact or other types of, I guess, duties that or roles that I'm playing as part of that council.
so when you say it's you, do you believe that it's Susan going to sleep and doing, or do you believe that you have another
I'm
incarnation?
thinking it's another incarnation, like a parallel lifetime. Yeah,
So have you tried to contact that lifetime yourself?
not yet, but I definitely can. I can definitely explore that myself further. It's just, yeah, it's more recent information. Yeah,
To me, like I have because to me, it feels like whatever you're doing is pretty mundane as a sort of administrative person, like pushing paper and,
yeah,
and there's probably it feels to me there's a, in any kind of first contact situation, you've got to know on the bureaucratic level, it's just all paperwork and
yeah.
meetings.
And I do a lot of documentation in my daily life, so and
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm
So,
good
so
at it,
and
so
my
that would
feeling is
kind of
really,
relate, I
it's
guess.
really that, I mean, if you just think about it from the logistical standpoint, and I just got literally like, just like I saw Radha walking, with your scrolls that you put also in my mind, I saw you walking with like big binders of and I don't know if it's paper or if it's electronic or however they do it, but you just have to know when some event like this happens and you're having to coordinate an entire species of people and beings to contact another species of, you've got to know there's just a ton of bureaucracy that has to be done. There's procedure. We talk about them all the time, procedures that are in place. And I just really imagine that my feeling is your position is very like mundane, not in a, but I just mean that you've got so many like checks that you have to make sure. And then there's the follow-up to make sure this is in place, that is in place. And when you're dealing on a galactic level with timelines, even, I mean, that just adds a whole nother, because I had an epiphany just a moment ago when I said about the timelines that probably that being is checking in with his other timeline beings, and they're trying to coordinate everything in such a way that something doesn't bleed too much and throw off an entire experience. Do you imagine?
Yeah.
So I just feel even on a multi-dimensional way, because as they go up higher in their incarnations, there's a lot of multi-dimensional uh, possibilities here, and the one thing the thing that I understand too is that even if, say, in one dimension I hand you the paper, in another dimension I put the paper on the table, in another dimension I drop the paper on the floor, it always isn't happening simultaneously. It could have been I handed you the paper and then there's a 3-second delay to when it was put on the so these things are very pivotal, and to coordinate through all of those timelines of a being that has the ability to be conscious of them and communicate with them and influence them. I just know that, like, I say mundane, I would just say highly involved and highly technical execution
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
His what do they call it? His when you have to report to your boss and tell them everything you've done and they evaluate everything, I think his must be like off the scale, like crazy involved. You know what I mean? Like, did you hit your targets? And his targets are not only in his own timeline, but they're across dimensions, also having to work with all kinds of beings. And even if something is done by one, council, they're working in conjunction with, I mean, think about the UN trying to make contact with another. It'll be crazy. I mean, it takes the UN like 15,000 years to do one thing, because whenever they write something like a procedure, I don't know if you've ever seen, but
Yeah.
when I was in Europe and we did like food additives and food things, not only did they have to provide the information in English, they had to provide it in every language of the European Union. It had to fit everybody's laws. It was
Yeah.
just, we're talking about how much vitamin C you can put in a tablet, which is so like, who cares? But yet, not only is there so much vitamin C you can put in a tablet, but there's studies that have to support it, and there's also have to be opposition against it, and everybody has to have their say, and there has to be reconvening. And I think your guy over there needs a little vacation. Like, release
No, it relates. It's kind of interesting because my day job in this lifetime,
is like that.
I'm very much doing those type of, have those kind of skills and doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
So it kind of relates to like, and I'm good at it.
Well, you
And
took a
I do enjoy it, even though it
yeah.
is kind of mundane in some ways, doing a lot of documentation, procedures,
I don't mean
yeah, a
mundane in
lot
the
of
boring
analysis
sense.
of things like it, yeah, and I do that in my current job. So yeah, it does relate
People wonder like
to my
why is it
skill,
taking
I
so
guess my
long?
skills.
People are wondering why it takes so long for contact. And if you really break it down as to what it would actually take for a society to greet another society and all of the ramifications that will happen, being
Yeah,
the people making contact, it's a lot less impact for them than it is for us. So they make contact with us, maybe we shoot at them. Okay, they're expecting that, they're protected, no problem. But our entire society and world will literally change overnight. There's ramifications for religion. There's ramifications for understanding of our energy needs. There's just so many different things that will transpire with that first, hey, yeah, how you doing from we're the we're the society, or we're whoever who shows up first. And I have to believe, like I have to believe, if they are following any kind of first contact procedure, it's not just one procedure. All of this stuff has been prepped for, practiced for. They've done it before. They know what to expect. They may not. I saw a great comedian that said, you know, if aliens were to land in the South, you know, they may be gone before the government can get here because of all the people with guns and everything. They may not even make it, right? So just because the reactions of the people can be many and varied. There's also the mental health of people that will be affected. I mean, people say they can handle it, but can they? And if the beings don't look really like us, who knows? I mean, people can't handle somebody having a different color skin, or somebody being too fat, or someone being, this. People freak out about that. Do you think they can handle a being with, like, 5 heads and or a different color? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. I think
and
in a recent channel I heard initially it will be like more humanoid beings that look like us,
yeah,
and then later other types of beings of different shapes and sizes.
sure. But I'm just
So it's like
saying,
easing us into
yeah.
first contact.
Think of
Yeah.
that first. I mean, there's always, listen, when I was in India, for instance, when COVID came and the lockdown came, there was a lot of suicides of people, unfortunately, that thought they were going to get it, who didn't know.
In
Uh,
India,
yeah,
the people in India?
yeah, not all people, but there was a lot of people who had such this sort of end of the world kind of reaction. And, if you look at, what was that? Was that thing, that radio show that went on in the
War of the
40s?
Worlds, War of the Worlds.
Worlds. People killed themselves. They were jumping out of buildings thinking the aliens were here. And I'm not saying that in this day and age that will happen, but I can imagine on some level there will be some kind of panic. I have to believe some of us would be okay. We may or may not be okay. We don't know until it happens. But what I'm saying is on a galactic level, you coming to that planet with the intention of making contact, and you are an ambassador of this, it means you know what you're doing, and you know what could happen, and you know the ramification, and there should be planning and stuff. And it may not even be that they have to do any planning, but they definitely have to prepare the governments of what to do for their people when this actually comes out. How are they going to communicate it? If there's unfortunately, if there's like a death of a person, they always will offer counseling to people. So they've got to have a lot of things in place, or it will literally be bedlam. It will be bedlam. So your job, while a lot of paper, is probably very, very necessary. That's what I would tell you about it.
Great.
And you need to contact yourself.
Yes, yes.
That's
I will do that. I'll
yeah,
connect more into that lifetime. Yeah.
yeah.
All
Because
right.
who can tune into you better than you,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, it was just a few weeks back at the event, the oneness event that I found this out. So I'll definitely, yeah, learn more about me.
So Radha mentions in her thing that she had pulled a card from that Angel Raphael was sending the message to go to the place that I can't say. And so that's where her question.
Gobekli Tepe.
Thank you. That
Gobekli
place,
Tepe.
the GT place. She's heading down to GT because there's something there for her. And I would say go. You definitely should go. And then Adriana asks, who built that? And I don't know. It was the first civilization, correct? I don't even think they know who built it.
Lemurian.
Okay, so the Lemurians built it, but it's on Earth, in Earth memory, it's not Earth history, it's not documented as Lemurians, right? Or no? I don't think so. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Oh, Wendy has a question. Any additional information on the ovals and the letters and the numbers that looked first like cells in the body, but I was woken up at dawn this morning, so awake and eyes open, watching these images in the room, on the ceiling, blankets, walls, perfect intersecting of ovals with alphabets, numbers, and mathematical images and codes. Very cool. Does anyone have an answer? I'll read it again. Any additional information on the ovals and letters and numbers that looked first like cells in the body, but I woke up at dawn this morning, so awake and eyes watching these images in the room, on the ceilings, blankets, walls. I think you saw into the matrix, hun. I think you saw into the makeup of just energy.
That's what I got, was that she tapped into it's definitely the Matrix.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that you saw it could have been literal or figurative because we perceive so that we can understand, so that, we don't know that numbers are actual universally so, but still the energy of them as it would come. Yeah, she was seeing sacred geometry, but also with probably, letters correspond to sound. So that's also energy. So you were just seeing what I have to believe is the energy of the makeup of everything. Yeah, Mads Lundegaard. Yeah, his name is Mads. I forget how to pronounce it. It's not Lundager, but it's something like that. Yeah, he was a guest on Hucolo a while ago. Yes. So anyone else have any questions? No? Questions in the chat?
I know it's loud on the boat, but I posted a question also about the White Walker. Hopefully you're able to answer me.
Oh, let me see. Let me scroll up. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Who was the bearded white man with the ice blue sparkling eyes that appeared to me pre-bedtime a few days ago? Reminded me of a White Walker from Game of Thrones. Oh, really? Were you half asleep or were you just in your room?
I was on my way going to sleep, had already grounded, cleared myself, and then his image popped into my head.
Can I ask you, because I'm visualizing what you mentioned him to be, but what was your feeling? Did you feel intrigue, fascination, peace, fear?
No, no feelings like that. Just surprise and interest in looking at him. And the only reason I said like a White Walker is just because of his coloring. He was just an all white dude.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, to be really honest. Let me think 1 moment.
But those blue sparkling eyes were like beady little round circles. So
It's
there were
really
no
hard to
whites
hear
in
you,
the eyes.
Wendy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I thought. His eyes were, there's no white in the eyes. It was all blue.
Oh, wow. I really don't have an answer for you. I would say, hopefully you'll see him again. You can ask him yourself. I'm not getting any information on that. Anyone else getting information? Because I'm not. I
Nope,
can
I
see
didn't
it.
get anything. Yep.
I can
nothing.
see it, but I don't know. It may just be that it's, I mean, I would say that the most obvious answer would be it's a guide for you in some way, or it could be some guy that used to live in your house, even if it's or lived on that land, if it's a new home. But I don't have any information. The one thing that I say I don't have any information, and then I say the one thing I get. The one thing I do get is that generally, and this is a rule of thumb that I never articulated before, but that I'm getting is that beings that come and stand sort of at the end of your bed and look at you have something to do with trying to bring a message, but through dreams. So I would say that you'll get a message in your dream from him. Because the fact that you were sort of already in that like relaxed state and he was able to come in, it could very well be that he was coming to share some message with you. So
Got it. Yeah, he was definitely a third eye image and not physically at the end of my bed.
oh, he wasn't okay, he was in your third eye, he wasn't standing on the end of your bed. Well, even more so then, I would say. He was coming to bring you some kind of message. And you'll probably be able to get it either in meditation or in your dreams. So name him, I would say, give him a name, whether, it's Blue Eyes or whatever you want to call him, and just call him back and just be like, what is the message you have for me? I'm open to receive it, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm kind of comforted he wasn't staring. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Joan, she says, I dream about having a meeting with the galactic. I forget what it's all about. We need more, Joan. That's something for you to meditate on. You dream about having a meeting with the galactics. I forget what it's about. Do you guys keep dream journals? So that when you have a dream, you can wake it up and write it down?
I
I do,
do.
yes.
I do.
Okay. Joan, do you? Maybe you ought to start a dream journal that you, as soon as you wake up, you write stuff down. Francesca says, hi, Francesca. She says, what does it mean when a dragon you used to see in meditation enters your body? It means integration. It means integrating the aspect of that being into yourself. And it can also be that, that is already part of you, and that visualization of the integration is just that being is going to play a greater role in you walking around in your daily life. When something's outside of yourself, you're seeing it as separate, but when it comes into you, it's more integrated. So, that's how I would interpret that. Who said the thing about the North? Oh, good. Adriana told Wendy that she saw that white being as a Norse god. That's a great thing. Yeah. Okay. So anyone, this last call for questions, because we're now running out of time. Does anyone else have any questions that we can take one more? One more. Yes, no, maybe so. Anyone?
I say yes, no, maybe so.
That's not a question. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to call it. I'm going to say thank you, everybody. Thank you to Wendy and Susan and everyone that's here. Angie, Dawn, Adriana, everyone in the chat, Joan, Elizabeth, Radha, Posthuman, Sarah. Who else? BD Player. Posthuman, you have some questions for next week for Jim, so please remind us. And anyone else has a question, make sure to hold it for next time for Jim. And if you want to get a reading with Jim, you can go to our website, hucolo.org, and click through to his website. Or what is his website called now, Angie?
Muted, sorry. It is Jim dash, oh boy.
Jim Just Charles or Jim Channeling? James, just go to our website.
Yeah, it's
Go to hucolo.org and you can find a link to go to Jim. Yeah.
I was thinking a lot of different things. I can't reach into my brain, grab it, pull it out. I can't do it. It's Jim dash Charles. Jim dash Charles.
Got what?
It's wait, it's the same one. It's dot. It's got to be com because it's not org because we're org because I'm like,
Right.
okay, is it org doing it? It's Jim Dash Charles channeling at
Just go to our website.
just
You'll
go to the website because literally I'm like
yeah,
I keep trying to pull it out, still nothing.
that's all right. That's okay. Just please
Bye,
go.
Don.
Bye, Don. But Don's leaving. Okay,
So
everyone,
yes,
thank you
so
so much. Who wants to do a closing blessing? Let's just have like one as we
Alright.
go out. And not
Susan.
just right.
I
Let's have
could do.
Susan.
Okay, Susan's right there. All
I
right,
could do one.
perfect. Okay. Angie will do the interpretation
Oh,
of
okay,
this.
Yeah, yeah. And you interpret this time. Te sekaya tutua ya tia sia haya ya kutua. Hia sia kitia titia tsukutu ta ya titia ya kutu ya sia ya kia. Hia sia u sekatia ya tututu sia hitia. Husua ya sia ya tuto ya tia titia. Hia sa ya kutua ya tia ya sukua titia sikitia. Tutuya. Blessings.
Much information is coming to humanity in many different forms. This information is for personal. This information is for spiritual. This information is for group. These things are coming to humanity now, and those that are able to receive it move forward in a greater way. Bring these energies in, bring this information in, and allow all to happen within you. It was allowed change to happen within you.
Okay, good.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat. May Adriana's doing a mantra, and that's Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all the beings in all the world be happy and free. Thank you for that. Much love to everyone. Thank you for being here. And next week we'll be back with Jim. And after that, we'll be back with somebody else who shall remain nameless
At this time.
at this time. So much love to everyone. Thank you in YouTube. Thank you in Zoom room. And we'll see you all next week. And now I have to go to the right place because they changed it.